Hi Year 4, welcome to your first maths video for this week. So we're going to take a bit of a break from shape and geometry and we're going to spend a week just doing some revision of our arithmetic skills. So we're just going to look over our strategies for addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. So today we're going to be focusing on addition and subtraction. We're going to think about the written methods that we've learnt so far this year, our column methods, and we're going to just look over those and check that we are feeling really happy and confident using those. And we're going to look at some example questions and see how we attempt word problems, how we might pull away the important information, and how we can visualize what the question is asking us to do. Okay, so we're going to start off by having a look at these written methods. I'm going to show you how we do it. We're going to have a look at some of the common mistakes that some people might make, so we can make sure we're not doing those today. And then we'll try some example questions together. Okay, so let's have a look at our column addition first of all. So my calculation is 327 add 459. Out in my place value columns, and I've labelled the top of each column just so I'm really sure which digit should be in each column. So when we are doing column addition, we need to start in our smallest column. So here, that is the ones column. So I've got 7 ones plus 9 ones. 7 plus 9 is 16. That means I have 16 ones. Now I know I can't write a 16 in my ones column like this. I'm going to have to do some regrouping. So 16 ones is the same as 110, which I will put up here in the tens column, and 6 ones. Now I can add my tens column. So I've got the 110 that I regrouped, and then I've got 2 tens and 5 tens. So altogether, that gives me 8 tens. Now I can add my hundreds. I've got 300 and 400, which gives me 7 hundreds. So my answer is 786. Let's have a look at another one. So my calculation is 784 add 225. Again, I've set my digits out in the correct place value columns, and I've labelled my columns so that I'm really clear about where I need to regroup to. Give yourself a couple of seconds, pause the video, have a look at this calculation, and if you've got some spare scrap paper with you, then see if you can have a quick go at it. Okay, so like we did before, we're going to start in our smallest column, which is our ones column. So we've got 4 ones, add 5 ones. 4 add 5 is 9. I don't need to regroup, so I can put my 9 in my ones column. Now in my tens column, I've got 8 tens, add 2 tens, which is going to give me 10 tens. Now, I can't put 10 tens into my tens column. 10 tens needs to be regrouped. 10 tens is the same as 100. So I put my 100 down there, and there are no tens left in my tens column because they have all been regrouped as 1 extra 100. So now I can look at my hundreds column. I've got the 1 that I regrouped, add 7, add 2. That's going to give me 10 hundreds. 10 hundreds is the same as 1,000. So I put a 1 in my thousands column, and I've got nothing left in my hundreds column. And then finally, I look in my thousands column, and I've just got the 1,000 that I regrouped. So my answer would be 1009. Now I'm going to show you a calculation, a column addition calculation that someone's done, and they have made a mistake. So I want you to pause the video here and see if you can spot where they have made their mistake and how we could fix it. Okay, so when we're spotting mistakes, what we should do is work through the question as we would if we were solving it ourselves. So I can see the question set out correctly, everything's in the right columns. So we're going to look in the smallest column first, in the ones column, where we've got 4 add 9. Now 4 add 9 is 13. 13 ones is the same as 110 and 3 ones. Now I can see straight away that they've regrouped the 3 and left the 1 down here in the ones column. So if I set it out again with my green pen, just next to it, oops, I'm going to show them what it should look like. So 4 plus 9 should be 13. So I regroup the pen, and keep the 3 in the ones column. Now I've got my tens column, so it should be 1 add 8 add 3. Here they had a 3 in their tens column, which they've now got confused with their adding. If we look in the correct way of doing it, 1 add 8 is 9, add 3 is 12. 12 tens, we need to regroup the 10 tens as 100 and keep the 2 down here. And then I can add my hundreds column. 1 add 7, which is 8, add 2, which is 10. 10 hundreds is the same as 1,000. So the answer should be 1,023. Right, we're going to have a look at column subtraction next. So I've set it out in my place value columns again, and all the digits are lined up in the right place. We are going to start in our smallest column again. My ones column, I've got 4 subtract 8. Now 4 is smaller than 8, so I know that I can't do 4 take away 8. This means I'm going to need to regroup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look into my next column, which is my tens column. I'm going to take one of those tens away. So I don't have 6 anymore. I have 5. And that 10 is going to be regrouped into my ones column as 10 ones. So I've now got 14 ones there. 14 subtract 8 is 6. Now I can look in my tens column. 5 tens take away 2 tens. That gives me 3 tens. And in my hundreds column, 4 hundreds take away 100 gives me 300. So my answer is 336. Right, pause the video here if you can, get yourself some scrap paper and see if you can have a go at solving this calculation. Okay, so we start in the smallest column, just like before in our ones column. I've got 4 subtract 9. Now, because 4 is smaller than 9, I know that I can't do that. Doesn't mean we switch it round, doesn't mean we ignore it. It just means we need to regroup. So I look in my next column, see if I can regroup from there, but there are no tens for me to regroup from. So I'm going to have to look in my next column, which is my hundreds column. There are 7 in my hundreds column. So I'm going to take one of those hundreds away. So there's now 6 in there. And I'm first going to regroup it into my tens column. 100 is the same as 10 tens. So I've now got 10 in my tens column. Now I'm going to take one of those tens away. So there aren't 10 anymore, there'll be 9. And I'm going to regroup it as 10 ones. I've now got 14 in my ones. 14 subtract 9 is 5. Okay, now I can do my subtraction in my tens column. I've got 9 tens take away 2 tens, which is 7 tens. And in my hundreds column, I've got 6 subtract 8. I know I can't do 6 subtract 8, so I'm going to have to regroup. So I can see I've got 1,000 in my thousands column. I'm going to take that away, there are none left, and regroup it as 10 hundreds. So I now have 16 in my hundreds column. 16 subtract 8 is 8, and there's nothing left to subtract in my thousands column. So I finished my calculation. Right, I would like you to have a look at this calculation, which someone's had a go at, and I want you to see if you can spot what mistakes they have made. So I'm going to get my green pen out, and we're going to work through it as if we were solving it ourselves. So we're going to look in the smallest column first. 4 subtract 8, and they put 4. Now this is something that I see people doing quite often. Instead of just thinking I need to regroup, sometimes people think they can switch the digits around. It's not the same as 8 take away 4. So we should not have a 4 there. We cannot just switch these around. Okay. If we look in our tens column where we had 5 subtract 7, I can see that they've done some regrouping to make it 15 subtract 7, but they haven't shown where that regrouping has come from. They've obviously taken 100 away, but they haven't remembered to show that they have taken it away. You must make sure if you're regrouping, you show where you've taken that from, cross it out and put what's left, and then do your regrouping. So let's have a go at doing this calculation correctly. So we have 1,754, and we're subtracting 678. See how the digits are all lined up in the right place. 4 subtract 8, we can't do. I need to regroup from my tens column. That leaves 4. And I now have 14 subtract 8, that gives me 6. 4 subtract 7, I can't do, so I need to regroup. I'm going to take 100 away, regroup it into my tens column. 14 subtract 7 is 7. Hundreds column, 6 subtract 6 is 0. And thousands, 1 subtract nothing is 1. So my answer should be 1076. So we're going to have a look at a word problem together first of all. So a school coach was carrying 134 children. 83 children got off at the first stop. How many children were left on the bus? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick out some of the key information I'm given. So I know that we start off with 134 and then 83 children get off the bus. And I'm looking for how many children were left on the bus. So I've circled the key numbers, the facts I'm given, and I've just underlined some of the language that might help me understand whether this is an addition or a subtraction problem. Now I'm going to have a go at showing this in a bar model, which will help me to visualize the problem and see what I'm being asked to do. So I'm going to start with the whole number I'm given. So I know that we started with 134 pupils, and then of those 134, some children got off. 83 children got off the bus. So I'm looking for the part which is left over. I'm looking for this missing part. And I know that to find a missing part, it needs to be a subtraction. So I need to do 134 subtract 83. So let's see if we can solve that using a column method. Now I'm using a column method because I think these are larger numbers and I think there will be some regrouping involved. Sometimes if they're smaller numbers or if they're numbers where you can spot some number facts in, you might be able to use a mental strategy. So if you can use some of your near doubles, for example, or you think you can spot some number bonds in there, or maybe you can add or take away 10 and adjust your answer, then there might be times where a mental method is more appropriate. But for this one, because they're larger numbers and I can't see any facts I can use, I'm going to use column subtraction. So I'm going to set it out in my place value columns and I'll label them to be sure. And I'll start in my smallest column. 4 subtract 3 is 1. 3 subtract 8 I can't do. So I'm going to take that 100 and I'm going to regroup it as 10 tens. So I now have 13 tens. 13 subtract 8 is 5 and I have no 100 to subtract. So my final answer is 51. Let's have a look at another one. A restaurant served 338 customers at lunch service and 587 at dinner service. How many customers were served altogether? So again, I'm going to circle the numbers that I'm given, the statistics I'm given, and I'm going to underline some of the words that give me clues. So I can see that I'm asked to find out how many were served altogether. We usually see that word altogether when we are trying to find the total of something. I'm going to see if I can visualize this now. So let's imagine that this little bar is showing my lunch service customers, my 338 customers. And then I've got another part, which I'm going to put just next to it. And those are our dinner service customers. And that's 587. I know I'm trying to find how much there were all together. So I'm going to need to put those two parts together. So I know it's going to be addition. I'm going to have to add 338 and 587. And again, because these are larger numbers and I think there's going to be regrouping involved, I'm going to use my column method. So I'm going to go and I'm going to set it out. So I've got 338 and I'm adding 587. I'll label my columns and get started in the smallest column. So 8 add 7 is 15. So I'm going to regroup 10 of those and keep 5 of them down here. So now I can add my tens. 1 add 3 is 4, add 8 is 12. So that's 12 tens. So I'll regroup 10 of them as 100 and keep 2 of them in my tens column. Now I can add my hundreds. 1 add 3 is 4, add 5 is 9. My final answer is 925. So when you're solving your word problems today, think carefully about the key information you're given and what vocabulary is being used in the question. If you want to do a bar model or a little diagram or a drawing to help you visualize the problem, that might help you work out whether you're being asked to add or subtract. And if you're doing a mental method, you could write down what your calculation was that you did in your head. If you're doing a written method like the column addition or column subtraction, please make sure you're showing it nice and neatly in your book.